The DMV keeps track of any collisions or moving violations by each driver, assigning certain points to each safety-related incident. The DMV may suspend a driver's license if his or her driver record shows any one of the following point count totals, regardless of license class: 4 points in 12 months, 6 points in 24 months, 8 points in 36 months. The rules are tougher for teenage drivers. 2 points in 12 months receive a 30-day restriction. 30 points or more in 12 months earn a 6-month suspension. This system, known as the Negligent Operator Treatment System, enables the DMV to zero in on habitual, careless, or reckless drivers and keep them off the road if they don't shape up by taking away their licenses. Less severe violations are given 1 point. These include infractions such as driving with an expired license, driving with only the parking lights on at night, unsafe lane changes, failing to stop at a stop sign, inadequate windshield wipers, coasting, and failing to use child restraints. These points stay on a driver record for 37 months. More serious violations warrant 2 points. These include infractions such as speed contests, DUI, driving on the wrong side of the road, failing to stop when involved in a collision, evading a police officer, and other reckless driving. These points can stay on a driver record for up to 7 years. A driver whom the DMV determines is responsible for a collision is penalized 1 point, except where the driver is also convicted of another offense, in which case the collision counts as 2 points. A hit and run involving injury or death counts as 2 points, as does a hit and run involving property damage. For teenagers, one at-fault collision or a 1-point conviction for a violation in a 12-month period will result in a warning letter from the DMV. A second such incident or combination of both collision and violation within a 12-month period will result in the teenager not being allowed to drive for 30 days unless in the presence of a parent or an adult over 25 years of age with a valid license. A third such incident and 3 points within a 12-month period will result in the suspension of the teen's driving privilege for 6 months and probation for 12 months. In 1998, 5,606 teenagers died in the U.S. in motor vehicle crashes, usually because they made some kind of mistake. These accidents often occur at night, especially over the weekend, and often involve speeding, single vehicle crashes, and no seatbelt. They all boil down to inexperience behind the wheel and a willingness to take risks that few experienced drivers would take when sober. If a violation of probation occurs within 120 days, license suspension will be for 90 days. If within 121 to 240 days, suspension will be for 60 days. If within 241 to 365 days, suspension will be for 30 days. A second or third violation will result in license suspension for 6 months. The first time a driver fails to complete a chemical test, license suspension will be for 1 year. A court will instruct the DMV to suspend the license of any driver who is guilty of DUI or of accumulating too many negligent driver points. The DMV may suspend the person's license for 6 months or place them on probation or revoke their driving privilege. Any person so penalized is entitled to a hearing if requested within 10 days of receiving the suspension or revocation order. A person convicted of speeding or reckless driving can have his or her license suspended by a judge for up to 30 and 60 days for first and second offenses, and 6 months for any subsequent offenses. Other acts that can result in license suspension by a judge include failure to stop at a railway crossing as required, recklessly fleeing a law enforcement officer, engaging in lewd conduct and prostitution within 1,000 feet of a residence while in a vehicle. Fines and/or imprisonment are additional penalties that can be visited upon those guilty of serious crimes committed, such as felony grand theft and manslaughter, while driving a vehicle, In such cases, the DMV will either suspend or revoke the driver's license of the offender. If you are caught driving, even though your license has been suspended, you risk arrest, jail, and the impounding of your vehicle. Revocation of a license occurs when a driver violates terms of his or her probation for a fourth time, is convicted of reckless driving that injures another, is convicted of a hit and run, or fails to meet suspension requirements. A revocation is the permanent withdrawal of a driver's license. If a person wants to drive again, he or she first has to make good on any issues related to the reason for the revocation, and then start the whole process of acquiring a new license, including taking a new test. The answer to validation question number 50 is B. Hope you enjoyed the course. Maybe the course seemed like a bunch of rules and regulations, dire threats, and unreal scenarios. We admit that there are a lot of rules and regulations. That's how we bring about the agreement that makes the driving experience possible. However, next time you find yourself cussing under your breath or even aloud at the driving laws or the police who enforce them, consider what driving was like before there were any laws. The Farmers Anti-Automobile Society in Pennsylvania became understandably upset at the increasing number of fatalities at the turn of the century. They decided to take measures to improve driver safety. Night drivers had to stop and send off a Roman candle every mile, wait 10 minutes for the road to clear, and then proceed while blowing their horn. If the driver still encountered horses, he was required to stop and cover his vehicle with a camouflage cover. If any horse was too spooked to pass his car, the driver was obliged to strip the vehicle and hide the pieces in the undergrowth. Members of the society were also invited to chase automobiles on Sundays, shouting and/or shooting at the drivers and threatening them with arrests. Fortunately, drivers are a little more accepted on today's roads. It may not be every day that you find yourself drifting lazily across the road in slow motion, like a ballerina, with your brakes having no effect on the ice or the slick roadway. But when that day does come, hopefully you will remember what you have read here and will apply it. It will certainly justify your having spent the required 400 minutes on this course. The final point about dire threats is possibly true. We have deliberately tried to show you that there's a connection between poor or lazy driving habits and crashes. The 40,000 plus deaths each year on U.S. roads are not an idle statistic. They're an ugly fact on 40,000 or so different occasions each year. But for most of us, especially when we drive using our common sense, driving is just what it is supposed to be, a way of getting from point A to point B and possibly even enjoying the ride. Certainly, the sights and vistas are still there, and with the comfort and conveniences of modern cars, there is no reason why travel should not be a joy. So we hope you enjoy your driving, even when the going gets tough in life and you may feel tempted to throw the rules and lessons to the wind. The person who applies the rules is you. Sure, the police will catch you sometimes if you break the laws, but the game is driving today so that you and others can still drive tomorrow, not breaking the rules without getting caught. That's the kind of game young kids play until they wise up. So why not wise up now? A chicken in every pot and a car in every garage. Herbert Hoover's slogan during his 1928 presidential campaign. Having a car, a license, and a state where good roads are the norm makes for a lot of freedom. Take advantage of it.